Give us your spooky story.
So this is not as recent as Jacob. So we're going to go back to 1994. How many of
Ooh.
you have been to Nebraska?
Nebraska?
So
Actually, no, never. That's the one place I haven't been.
So Nebraska, is kind of, Midwest West. Not much going on in Nebraska besides their sports teams and cornfields. So I went to the University of Colorado for undergrad, and Colorado football back in 1994 was the shit. It was a great school. We were number five in the country. I think Nebraska was number one. And back then, they played each other every Halloween weekend. And so this particular game was in Lincoln, Nebraska. So my roommates and I, we decided we were going to get in our car and drive from Boulder, Colorado to Nebraska to go to the game with a bunch of other friends. We get to the game, it's a disaster. We get our asses beat by Nebraska 24/7. We were supposed to stay overnight in Lincoln, but we really didn't want to. We didn't feel welcome. People were throwing rocks at us, calling us names, losers, big loser. So we decided we were going to head home after the game. The game started, I believe it was like a 4 o'clock, no, it was a 2 o'clock game, um, Midwest time. And so by the time we left, again, it was October, so when we left, it was maybe 6 o'clock at night, so it was dark outside. So we're making the drive back to Nebraska. It's dark. We are in an old Ford Bronco, um, and we happen to get lost.
Mhm.
Now, none of us had ever been to Nebraska before this trip, so we weren't really sure whether we were coming or going. I didn't have a license, so I wasn't driving in the dark. Okay, so it was my roommate who was driving and our other friend named Me Lee. Okay, and before we had, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Judgment Night. It's with Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr.
I haven't seen it.
It's kind of a scary movie. It's about them taking a road trip in a souped up RV to go see a boxing match, but they kind of get thwarted. They get lost, but they get lost in an urban area, kind of in the ghetto. And so some gangbangers start basically chasing them. Well, we got lost in the cornfields basically of Nebraska. And
Oh
so
my.
while there were no drug dealers
Hmm.
that were chasing us, um, I started, as we initially started driving down this dark road to nowhere, I brought up the Judgment Night movie. And one of my roommates starts freaking out and she starts crying
Mm.
because she's scared.
Oh.
And she thinks the gangbangers or the boogeyman in the cornfield is going to come after us. So we are trying to drive and maneuver through the back roads. I think we initially took three different wrong turns that led us to dead ends. And so we had to back up or whatever. And then finally we take a turn and we literally ended up in a cornfield that looked like this right here. And
Ugh.
Mm.
so I'm being, the annoying, let's scare everybody. So I'm like, oh my God, there he is.
That sounds like
Oh my God, he's gonna jump out over there. And so of course, my roommate is freaking out, crying, don't say that, don't do that. And I'm like, shh, okay, don't cry, don't say anything. And so it's all silent. And then all of a sudden, we're going down this road in the cornfield. Boom!
Mm.
I scream, boo,
Oh.
scare everybody in the car. Okay. And
me.
so, of course, I got
Mean.
cursed out a little bit, but it was kind of funny until we got lost again and really didn't know where we were going. And so we pulled over. We finally got out of the cornfield and pulled over to the side of the road. We did have a map. There was no GPS back then. There were no cell phones. There was no Google Maps. None of that stuff. So you either had a map or a flashlight, or you were shit out of luck. We pull over to the
Yep.
side of the road. Again, the roommate who's crying didn't want us to pull over to the side of the road because she thought the boogeyman was going to come get us. So we're like, okay. So the two drivers, they got out of the car because you can't really concentrate while someone's in the back seat crying and screaming. They get out of the car with the flashlight so they can look at the map. Car comes down the creepy road, stops in front of us. And so then I'm
Mm-mm.
like in the car with the roommate. Oh shit, the boogeyman really is here. So he gets out. First he honks his horn and he gets out. And so then the other two roomies, they run it, get in the car. So he comes and he starts knocking on the window. And everyone's like screaming, get away, get away, get away. And he's like, pulls out his badge.
Oh
Police
wow.
officer. right? And he's like, I'll take you guys to where you need to go. Like, you're lost. We tell him we're trying to get to whatever the main road, whatever, what have you. And so he's like, follow me. So he's in an unmarked car. He's not in a police cruiser or anything like that. So he gets
Oh,
in his
dang.
car. We start to follow him and follow him and follow him and follow him.
What?
Like, we're going nowhere.
Through cornfields?
No, we're on
You're in a main road
it's
now.
like a back not but a main road, but not really, like a back main road. Like,
Like
it
a
wasn't the
country
main
road.
highway. A country
Yeah.
road, exactly.
Oh man.
Not a lot of lights. So the only lights on this road were your headlights, right? So we're following him, and
Do you
I'm
mind
just
if I
like,
ask the ethnicities
it's
involved?
Nebraska. In our car,
Both.
our car,
I'm asking both.
well,
All.
the guy was white. My two roommates were white, and me, Lee, is Vietnamese American.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm outnumbered. Me and I
I
are
was gonna say.
outnumbered. But we're following and I'm just like, guys, I don't mean, I'm really not joking right now. But we've been going for a long way. Like, we don't know where we're going. Of course, the other roommate starts crying again. Don't say that. Don't say. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna shut up until he pulls out the butcher knife and kills us all.
The butcher knife.
So,
You thought you were gonna get killed with a butcher knife?
and
Damn.
so
Shoot.
we continue to follow him, and then we start to see like some lights for a main road,
Okay.
right? So he's like, he honks, and then he turns into this main road, and it was like a Dairy Queen or something. It was a little strip mall, if you will. Dairy Queen pulls into the Dairy Queen. We pull up beside him, and we're like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. He gets out, comes back over to the window, pulls out his badge again, and he's like, I guess you guys have never seen a real state trooper badge, have you? It's Halloween. I'm not a police officer. I could have driven you anywhere. We were like, oh, and so of course the roommate starts crying again.
God.
We almost got killed. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
That's pretty intense.
It was
That's
pretty
scary.
creepy. It was pretty
Scary.
creepy. I didn't
Yeah.
help the situation because I like scary stuff. We did not have. Let me just say, we did not have any protection in that car. Like now, in fast forward to 2022, you guys know I sleep with a butcher knife underneath my bed, underneath my pillow.
Yeah.
I carry protection all the time. But back then, we were 20 years old. 4 young ladies in the car driving
no cell
to
phone?
Nebraska on the back road, no cell phones, no nothing, and a crazy nut in the back seat crying and screaming. So it could have turned out pretty bad for us.
Wow.
Turned out pretty bad for us.
No
So
kidding.
lesson learned: don't go following random people during the back roads in the cornfields in Nebraska.
That sounds like that Geico commercial where they're making fun of horror movies when they're sitting up there. They're like, "Oh, let's just get into the running car." No, are you crazy? It sounds like.
Yeah. Like it's too obvious.
I'm curious. So, Jacob, when they make fun of horror movies like that, do people? I mean, when horror writers are writing horror movies, do they really follow rules to horror movies?
Yeah.
Well, I just try not to have people do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I figure you get people in trouble without them doing stupid stuff. But I just last night watched an incredible horror movie called Barbarian. Out
Barbarian.
right now. Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's out now, yeah.
It's great. The characters do some incredibly stupid stuff that you would just think, no, that's not going to work out for them. That doesn't make any sense. But it still worked. It was great. It was so much fun. So I guess you can let people do stupid stuff, and it's okay.
I'm gonna have to check that Barbarian out. All right. Great story, Liz. Thank you for that.